I had always been interested in the cultures and people of other countries and used to download apps that could allow us to talk to people all over the world. At the time, I was in the college pursuing my graduation from arts. My classes were only on weekends, so I had plenty of time, which I mostly used over the internet, talking to my friends around the world. One day, I came across an app, and its name was Bottled. It was a pretty interesting app. You had to write a message, placed it in a bottle, and throw, and someone across the globe would receive your message. I was enjoying it and making new friends. That was when I met a guy named Daniel. We started chatting. He was a pretty friendly and interesting guy. I became friends with Daniel, and we started chatting on a regular basis. After some time, we shared WhatsApp numbers and started talking there. One day, all of a sudden, he asked me, "How would you feel if someone pulls your hair by force?" I was shocked by the question, but replied calmly, "I would hate it. I would want to punch that person in the nose." He sent some laughing emoji in the reply. His next message was, "I really like you. Can I tell you a secret about me?" I replied, "Sure, you can." I love watching people in pain. I was confused and shocked by his message. I asked him what he meant by that when he told me that he fantasizes about torturing people he hates with various methods. I did not reply to his messages, but he still continued. He told me about his fantasies, about how he wanted to beat up a boy he hated from college. He then told me how he sometimes even wants to murder people. After sharing me dozens of long texts, he asked me if it's right for him to fantasize such things. I thought maybe he's just lost and angry with the people who hurt him. So I tried to persuade him by explaining to him that no matter how angry you are, you should never harm another living being. And it's wrong to hurt others even if they wrong you. There was no reply for a few minutes. Then his reply came. "Okay, I understand. I would try not to think about these things." I replied with a smiling emoji, and then we started talking normally. After a few days, when I came back from the classes and I opened my phone, I saw Daniel had messaged. He had shared me a picture. I downloaded the picture and it was of a boy who was brutally beaten. His eyes were dark and bloody. There was punching marks all over his body and blood was dripping from his lips. I threw my phone on the bed. I stood there frozen for a second and then went back to check my phone again. There was a message from Daniel. It said, "How is it? He is the boy who bullies me. I hate him." I asked him why he did that after I told him not to. He replied that it wasn't his fault and the boy started it by pushing him. He was going into the bathroom when the boy pushed him and cussed him. Daniel lost his cool and kicked him from behind, and then grabbed the broom from the corner and started hitting him. After that, he punched him continuously in his face until the boy passed out, and then he left the bathroom. He was telling me as if he enjoyed doing that. So I asked him to confirm. How did it feel putting someone through that? You know it's wrong. He replied, "I know that it's wrong, but trust me, it felt pretty damn good beating his sorry ass up." I did not know what to say. After a while, his message came. "I'm sorry. I know it's wrong. I will never do it to another person. It's just that I hate him so much." I asked him why he sent me the picture, and he replied, "I love you, and I want to share my everything with you." I did not say anything in response to that text except okay. I did not talk to him for the next few days, but he kept messaging me every day. I saw the last message through the notification, which said that I should not ignore him or I will regret later. The next day, he sent me a video. I wasn't going to, but I opened it out of curiosity. I downloaded and played the video. There was a girl sitting on a chair. She was wearing a blindfold. The room was dark. The only light was above the girl's head focused on her. After a few seconds, a boy came from behind. He was wearing a mask. He removed her clothes one by one, leaving her only in her undergarments, and tied her hand behind the chair. The girl giggled, and then the boy started kissing her, through the chest to her neck. She started moaning. I thought he had shared me a porn. I was about to close the video, when the boy suddenly grabbed a pot from behind and poured hot melting wax over the girl's head. She started screaming and died instantly. It freaked me out, and I immediately closed the video. There was a message below the video which said, "I imagined it was you." I instantly blocked him and started panicking. He was right. I was regretting it. I was regretting ever talking to him. I thought of reporting it, but I had no idea how. There was another friend of mine from the same country, so I texted her asking if she would help me report a crime. She agreed. I shared all the screenshots along with the video to her. The next day, she told me that she had reported the crime anonymously because she did not want to get further involved in this. After a few days, she shared me a news clip which said Daniel was arrested for the crimes of murder and assault of multiple victims. I uninstalled Bottled app from my device and stopped making more friends. Hey guys, thanks so much for all the support. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please feel free to do so. In September of 2022, a 20-year-old Australian university student posted a harrowing personal account to the popular social media site. In it, she detailed the terrifying ordeal she'd been subject to after posting intimate pictures of herself on a social media page known as OnlyFans. One involved obsessive stalking, internet loopholes, and ultimately, a clear and present threat to her life. Only through a completely anonymous throwaway account that she feels safe enough to share a story, adding that her local police force had finally taken action against the person responsible. But even then, the girl made it clear that her complaints should have been taken seriously long before she was in any imminent danger. According to the girl, the incidents all started after she moved back with her parents during the summer break. The girl was particularly excited to be home as the family had just bought a new puppy. By all accounts, the girl was having a ball getting to know her new furry friend. But as anyone who's ever had a puppy will tell you, to say they can be erratic would be the understatement of the century. On night, the girl awoke to hear her puppy yelping at the back door. They were in the middle of the potty and went downstairs to let the dog out. She says it was as late as 2 a.m., and there didn't seem to be another soul around as she stepped down into the night, but as soon found out she wasn't entirely alone. "I saw this figure in a car," she said. "I could tell they were looking at me, but it was pitch black outside, and I couldn't make out their face. I felt a bit uneasy, but I didn't really think anything of it. Only when I go back inside, the car started up and followed me up my driveway. The terror of such an experience is undeniable, and even though the girl was so close to home, there's no denying that being out alone in the middle of the night made her very vulnerable indeed. I was terrified," the girl added. "I sprinted back inside and locked the door and kept my eye out for them in case they tried to break in. But as far as I know, they just backed out the driveway and left." Then she woke up the following morning after a terrible night of restless sleep and deep concern. The girl found an envelope and said her parents left her box. The envelope contained not only $20 Australian in cash, but also her OnlyFans username. "I thought long and hard about how he could have found my parents' address," the girl said. "Now working out the problem didn't start until I shared my Amazon wish list." OnlyFans and Amazon were both adamant that the security systems prevent leaks from taking place. However, it appeared that wasn't the issue. A third-party seller was not bound to the same data protection laws as large multinational companies. Although she doesn't know for certain how her stalker got her address, the girl is 90% sure that they got in touch with a third-party seller and obtained her home address in that way. Whether it was money, coercion, or intimidation that caused the seller to give up the info is another question entirely, but the fact remains that it's the most likely of all explanations. After that, when I moved back to the college town where I was studying, I stopped posting content. The girl goes on to explain, but somehow my stalker still managed to track me down. The girl said she basically closed down her fans account and started a YouTube account because of how unsafe the former felt. Her first big blogging project was due to be a shopping trip to a local mall, but when she got to her car to depart for the day, she found that she had been ransacked. The vlogging camera was missing too. She said, "I know that's my fault for leaving it in the car, but I was using it the night before, and since I live in a gated area, I didn't think I would be unsafe." That she added that the camera was inside of her glove box and contained an SD card with unreleased photos and videos on it. It was almost like someone knew it was there. But as bad as it was, it only got weirder from there. She eventually contacted her building security personnel asking if they could review security camera footage from the previous few nights, and it was through this that not only did she see a man break into her car and ignore other cars in the parking lot, but she also had proof she was being deliberately singled out for targeted harassment. After they got the camera, they walked around the duplex until stopping nearby my window. The girl wrote, "My bedroom faces an outside street and the blinds are broken, so it's very easy to see in. I have a curtain, but it doesn't cover my wall into all the way. Look, what I'm trying to say is this person watched me sleep for an hour, so I have no idea why they didn't try to break in, but thank God they didn't." The woman explained her camera was later recovered at a nearby secondhand store, suggesting whoever is stalking her has a prior history of criminality. However, she added that the camera's memory card was missing. "I know he kept it as some kind of trophy, I just know it." She added, and has since moved in hopes his stalker hasn't followed. "I believe the police are still trying to track them down, but I have broken my lease and moved to a new place, so hopefully this will keep me safe." But what's so scary about the girl's story is that it seems like only a matter of time before the stalker decides to take things further, unless they're caught. Stalkers will only ever escalate their activities until their obsession reaches a deadly and permanent end.
Rebecca Lucille Schaefer was born in Eugene, Oregon on November 6, 1967. Her father, Dr. Benson Schaefer, was a child psychologist, while her mother was a writer and instructor at Portland Community College. Given how proud she was of her Jewish roots, young Rebecca would dream of becoming a rabbi. But after a chance encounter with a modeling agent, she began modeling clothes during her junior year in high school. Rebecca would become a popular subject of many photographers, and she made guest appearances, department store catalogs, and television commercials, as well as an extra in a straight-to-TV movie. She was so successful that in August of 1984, her parents gave her permission to move to New York City to pursue a full-time modeling career. At 5'7", she was considered too short for high-fashion modeling jobs and struggled to find work as a result. Rebecca even moved to Japan for a short stint in the hopes of finding work there, but found Japanese modeling standards were even stricter than back in the United States. Yet, within just a few months of moving back to New York, Rebecca landed her first TV role playing Amy Barnes in ABC's One Life to Live. The following year, she appeared on the cover of 17 magazine, which caught the attention of television producers who were casting for a sitcom called My Sister Sam. Through a series of grueling auditions, Rebecca won the role of Patricia Russell, and the series was initially a hit, but it was canceled halfway through its second season in 1988 due to failing ratings. The role established Rebecca's acting career and earned her several other roles in a variety of different productions. However, the role also brought her to the attention of an extremely dangerous and unstable young man, one that would have an indelible and catastrophic impact on her life. Robert John Bardo. The youngest of 7 children, Bardo was the son of a non-commissioned officer in the United States Air Force who had met his mother whilst deployed in Japan. Due to the nature of his father's occupation, the Bardo family moved frequently, eventually settling in Tucson, Arizona in 1983. And to say young Robert had a rough childhood would barely broach the issue. A young Robert was placed in foster care after abuse from one of his siblings got so bad that he threatened to take his own life. Couple that with the Bartles' family history of mental illness, and it's quite clear that he never really had a shot at emotionally stable adulthood. By the age of 15, Bartle had been institutionalized to treat severe emotional problems, and it was around then that he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Shortly after, he dropped out of Pueblo Magnet High School and began working as a janitor at a Jack-in-the-Box restaurant. By the time he was 19, he had been arrested 3 times for disorderly conduct. Bartle's neighbors would frequently complain that he exhibited unexplainably strange and threatening behavior towards them. Yet, it seems they had no idea how deep Bartle's madness extended. You see, Bartle had a dangerously obsessive personality and found himself increasingly obsessed with certain female celebrities. The first target of his dangerous obsession was with the 13-year-old Samantha Smith, an American schoolgirl, peace activist, and child actress from Manchester, Maine, who became famous during the Cold War after her death on August 25, 1985, Bar Harbor Airlines Flight 1808 plane crash. Bartle was devastated, but it was during a period of intense mourning that he discovered Rebecca Schaefer while watching My Sister Sam. After writing Rebecca numerous letters confessing his love for her, Bartle attempted to gain access to the set of My Sister Sam, who was turned away by security. It was then that Bartle turned to a terrifyingly creative method of discovering Rebecca's whereabouts. Bartle contacted a Los Angeles-based private detective agency, promising to pay them handsomely if they could obtain the address of one Rebecca Schaefer. Using the California Department of Motor Vehicles records, the private detectives successfully obtained Rebecca's address, passing it along to Bartle for a tidy sum. They had no idea how unhinged Bartle was, or what the ramifications of their actions were. They were soon to find out just how irresponsible they had truly been. On July 18th, 1989, Bartle drove to Los Angeles to confront Rebecca at her home. He was angry because she hadn't bothered to reply to any of his letters, but not only that, he was furious because she appeared in a raunchy love scene in the movie scene from The Clash Struggle and Beverly Hills. Bartle allegedly told Rebecca that she'd lost her innocence, and then in partaking in such an impure movie scene, had become just another Hollywood harlot. He entered this bizarre tirade by assuring her that he was a big fan. Now all he wanted was the best for her. Rebecca was terrified and told Bartle she wanted nothing to do with him, slamming the door in his face and rushing to call the police. They assured Rebecca they'd come over to her as soon as they could. But the situation wasn't an emergency at the moment, and no lights or sirens were rushing to her apartment. In the meantime, a heartbroken Bartle walked over to a nearby diner to get some breakfast. His plan to win over Rebecca had failed, but he also had a plan B, which he would use in the event of Rebecca's rejection. About an hour later, Rebecca's apartment doorbell rang again. Assuming it was the cops, she rushed over to answer the door, but when she stopped to open it, the only person she saw standing before her was Robert Bartle. Bartle raised a Ruger .357 handgun and shot Rebecca through the heart. He then tossed a copy of Catcher in the Rye into her apartment and was later arrested in Tucson while wandering through traffic. The following year, Bartle tried to argue that he was criminally insane, but a judge dismissed the idea and labeled him a dangerously obsessive but otherwise mentally competent person. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole and is currently serving his sentence at California's Avenue State Prison. As a consequence of Bartle's actions and his methods of obtaining Schaefer's address, the U.S. Congress passed the Driver Privacy Protection Act, which prohibits the State Department of Motor Vehicles from disclosing the home addresses of state residents. Rebecca's murder also prompted the first anti-stalking state laws, including the California Penal Code 6469, which was essentially the nation's first law against obsessive or fixated persons. It was a nice gesture, But few deny that they came too little, too late for Rebecca, who needed protection from a dangerous and violent stalker long before there were any legal means to combat them. We can only hope these laws are direct and robust enough to stop the same thing from happening again. But given the determination of the human spirit, that seems like wishful thinking indeed.